this general area where we're going to flow our stormwater. And that's what's represented here. That's what happened. So what we're proposing to do on a site that has absolutely no formal storm drainage, the drainage runs off from the parking lot into the street now, runs off the buildings down onto the street, and then enters the catch basins that are located in these areas, and also on the forest square. What we're proposing to do is install a formal storm drain system that will capture the entire parking lot. We'll have two catch basins down here, as well as a trench drain running across this side. So we're intercepting all the runoff before it gets into Commercial Street. We've also provided for a storm scepter unit to remove some of the sediment before it hits Commercial Street. And based on the size of that storm scepter and using their software to determine, I believe we're looking at about an 85 to 90% TSS, total suspended solid removal. So it's taken away a good amount of the sediment before it hits the new storm drain system that will be in Commercial Street.
Just to be clear, when you made the comment, when it hits Commercial Street, you're meaning subterranean through a pipe?
Correct. Correct. Yeah. The purpose of these two catch basins and this trench drain is to avoid having runoff sheet flowing across the surface of Commercial Street. So everything will be collected and piped underground to the new storm drain system below Commercial Street. The other thing that we looked at doing is trying to reduce some of the volume of the runoff that goes into the Commercial Street system. We felt that, in addition to providing a new pipe network coming up through here, it might be beneficial if we could reduce the actual volume of the runoff. We don't normally do that on an oceanfront piece of property. Usually, pre versus post flow rates aren't as much of a concern. But again, the goal was to try to alleviate some of the surface flood on Commercial Street. So what we did is we took the entire building rooftop and the deck area, and we brought it into an underground infiltration area on this edge of the parking lot. Now, the bottom of that infiltration area sits about 2 feet above the mean high water mark. So, as the tide comes in, there is some influence on the groundwater in this area due to the tide fluctuations. So we've tried to keep it up above that. In the event that we have an extreme high tide, there's a very large rainstorm, and there's more flow going in here than the system can handle, there's also an overflow structure right there that will accommodate the additional flows that come off the roof through a pipe, again, it'll end up going through the storm scepter, but on those high volume storms, they'll bypass it and then back into the Commercial Street system. So
again, to be clear, when you say it overflows, it's going to go into the city storm system.
It'll go into the city storm drain. It will not flow across the surface. That's
right.
It all stays below ground. Our calculations indicate that this will take up to about a 25-year storm of 5.3 inches of rain. So it'll take a pretty good storm before that bypass is activated. The other thing that we looked at is what type of influence would some of the tidal conditions have on this pipe here, back flowing up through the entire system. What we found is once you come up to about mean high water level, about elevation 4, it doesn't have too much of an impact coming back up through here. If you do have extreme high tide events that are combined with extreme rainfall events, then some of the flooding will still occur out into Commercial Street. Right now, what we've proposed, the flooding goes from the 1-inch rainfall that we're seeing today to in excess of 25-year, so in excess of 5.3 inches.
When you say extreme high tides, are you saying storm high tides
or cyclical? Anything above, say, elevation 4. We didn't do a sensitivity analysis much above that. We did take a look at what happens when it comes up to that mean high water mark, just to get a feel of, would it be getting big in this area?
Would mean that half the time it's coming above it and half the time it's going below.
Correct.
So that means that it's going to be a lot more frequently than you think. 14 days a month.
So you use 4 feet as mean high water?
4, yeah.
What's the parking lot average grade up there?
Today, or
when you're proposing?
What we're proposing is 12 right in this corner. We're down to about 8 right down here.
tide's at 4, and you're up. What is the tide change here? What's a high tide normally in this area? On average.
9 foot tide goes from -5 to 4.
Okay.
That's the average time.
Okay.
So,
4 isn't mean high water, it's high water.
Mean high.
mean high water, it's the term mean high water.
Okay. So it appears to be significantly below, but in storm situation, it's a different story. But the high, the historic high tide.
Well, the terrestrial high tide.
Yes.
Right.
Which is
Then you're back in that.
Right.
Some of the other things that we're proposing on the site, actually, what we go to the next one? Number 2 and 3. Yeah, seawall. So this just kind of zooms in on the area. This is the parking garage in this area here. This is the external parking lot. The 8-foot sidewalk from Commercial Street down towards Pavilion Beach, and then the 10-foot wide beachfront walkway coming across through here. This darker shade shown along this edge is a proposed seawall. The seawall, in cross-section, will start with a vertical face. The top of the concrete on the seawall will be elevation 13. It would drop down about 3 feet, and then it would form a 45-degree angle, drop down another 2 feet, and then it would form probably about a 3-to-1 slope on the bottom section until it merges in. If we project the grade of the beach up. So you can see, in some places, this area here, the difference between the elevation of the beach and the elevation of the walkway is a little bit greater around the edges, so the wall projects out just a little bit further. This walkway will be approximately elevation 12, which is right about the female velocity zone elevation in that area. The lip of the wall would be elevation 13, so you have a 1-foot lip and then a handrail that comes up. This corner of the beach right now is approximately elevation 10 or 11, so it's pretty close. The wall will be very short there. Right in the middle of the beach area, it's about elevation 5, I think it's 5'9" or 6'0", so there would be about a 6 to 7 foot difference up to the top of the wall in that area. And then over this area, it's about elevation 7 or 8. So again, it's a little bit shorter than the middle of the beach. The blue line that we've shown on this plan indicates the limits of the coastal beach area as defined on the NORMAD plan. And what we did is kind of thicken that line up during the city council presentation so we could show the point that all these improvements, the walkways, the seawall, the stairs, the ramp, and then of course all the building and the parking garage and the parking lot itself are all going to be constructed behind the limits of that beach. In fact, look carefully on this plan here, you see a faint line right there, which is the existing building. And then the existing building also comes right across there. So all of the improvements, with the exception of this ramp on this side, will be within the existing building, behind the existing building wall, or on or behind the existing parking surface. And the reason I say this, with the exception of this ramp here, you notice the jog in that blue line there. If you recall, during the sidewalk and during the ORAD proceedings, we talked about a small, short foundation wall with a chain link fence that extends up that's out there today. That's what created the jog in that line. So we're building the ramp behind where that chain link fence is today. All these other features, the short wall, the chain link fence, the concrete pad here, the lights that come down, another concrete pad with the fire escape stairs and the concrete pad there, those will all be removed and the beach surface will be restored. The slight color differential between what we're showing here is Pavilion Beach and what's on the other side of that blue line, that's the area where we'll actually bring in some new sand, similar grade size. So we'd actually be extending the beach, and that area is roughly 2,000 square feet. So the beach will actually be about 2,000 square feet larger than it is today. In order to construct this, in order to protect the coastal beach area, what we plan on doing is immediately after demolition of the building, about 2 feet in from the lot line, we'd like to install a sheet pile wall. The top of that sheet pile wall, we figure will be about elevation 15, about 2 to 3 feet higher than where the seawall will be. And that sheet pile wall will come right along the edge of where the building is today, right along by the toe of these stairs, come right across, right by the lower end of that ramp. What that'll allow us to do, that'll allow us to start building the seawall and other site improvements after that sheet pile wall is in place, without having any construction debris, any kind of runoff or anything like that going back towards the beach. The secondary function of that is also to protect the construction workers on the site if they are working and there are some high waves that come through. That building's not going to be there. The parking lot will be removed and the new parking lot will be formed. So provide a little bit of protection for the workers there as well. The sheet pile wall is temporary. Once the seawall is constructed, the sheet pile wall will be cut off about 2 feet below grade. So that it will be removed. What else?
Everything above grade.
Everything above grade to the point 2 feet below. This section here cuts down through, if you recall, where the stairway was essentially in the middle of the seawall. This is a cross section, 2 scale right down through. What this shows is an existing concrete pad that's located out on the beach side of the building. It shows the building wall as the floor of the existing building. It's about elevation 9.3. Here's our proposed 10-foot walkway in the parking lot. Here's the proposed seawall curving down, and then the stairway and the handrail. The limit of the coastal beach is right along the front face of this concrete foundation pad that will be removed. And you can see the toe of the wall back here, and the toe of the stairs back here. Both of those are behind the existing building wall. This was originally prepared just to kind of further just show the fact that everything we're building is behind that existing building wall and behind the lot line we're really close to. The other issue that we're facing on this project is one of the other resource areas that we are in the land subject to coastal storm flowage. We are in 3 FEMA zones. We're in the 100-year floodplain, which is elevation 9. We're also in the 1-foot flooding area, so that brings us up to elevation 10 roughly. And then we're right on the edge of the wave velocity zone, which has been defined as elevation 12. With those in mind, we did end up setting the first floor of the garage at elevation 12. The building that's out there today, the older portion of the building, the floor of that is about elevation 9.3. So we're going up almost 3 feet, 2.7 feet above the existing building in response to digging those areas. That's the quick version of this. The key points that I'd like to make, I know where this is going to be peer reviewed and we're going to be doing site walks, and we're just getting started with this. There's probably a lot of questions that you're going to have. The proposed building is going to be about a 25% reduction over the existing building. Again, everything that we're proposing is on areas of currently developed property, whether it's current building, current parking lot, current concrete pads, chain link fences, and things like that. So all of our construction is in currently disturbed areas. The amount of impact of the coastal beach buffer will not change from what it is today. 38,850 square feet today will be 38,850 square feet in the future. We are adding about 2,000 square feet of sand to the beach area to push that back a little bit further.
Okay.
Any questions?
Commissioners, comments, questions?
Yeah, I know there were 7 files in there. Oh, you got it.
Yeah, that's right. Unless these two have any votes, you want to draw the prior to the public comment. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, why not? Yes, I'll just let the public know. I'm going to open up for public comment momentarily, but I want to let the public know also that this will be under third-party review as well, not dissimilar to the whole ANRAD, ORAD process. So there will be an opportunity to put questions together that we can forward to the consultants involved. But right now, if some people have some comments or questions they want to get out on the table, there'll be other opportunities. This is not going to be closed tonight, it will be continued. So does anybody in the public wish to speak for or against the project at 47 Commercial Street? Yes, sir. Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Michael Fade, and I represent the Waterloo Lobster Company, direct to butter and across the street. I don't wish to make any comment about the project so far. However, I do want to make sure that every member of the commission is aware that the delineation determination made by your group is under appeal and properly filed. So when representations are made that these are things that you've conformed, as far as I'm concerned, it's still an open question. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaking of which, Lisa, I would assume we would be here, that we can move forward with the process of the public review. What do you?
I don't know, I'm going to move forward with this, but I don't know whether we can close necessarily without knowing.
Why don't you just check it, Suzanne?
Yeah, okay.
Anybody else wish to speak? Again, it won't be the last chance, but anything you get out now, the sooner we delve into the project. Okay, seeing none here, none close public comment. Commissioners, anything to add? It's a lot to absorb in a quick meeting. It's late.
I just wanted to say that I did copy the missing graphics for 4, 5, and 6 onto the commission's computer.
Okay. I would guess the similar project came up in another part of town, different resource, but I am concerned about inundation of the site and the effects of that. Assuming we get a major storm and the site is inundated with X amount of water, the systems in place don't work, and I understand that. But more importantly, what inside, is there anything on that first floor? First of all, I saw some green patches, which are on the parking plan that I'd assume are salt-tolerant plantings of some sort. I'd like to know more about that. I'd also, again, like to know, within the hotel's lower, the garage level, is everything there, is, classic example, garbage. Let's say we get a nor'easter or some sort of storm flowage that comes in. Is there the opportunity for things to get pulled out? Again, maybe garbage is an important, a good example. But that's my concern, is inundation of the site, how it affects all the systems, but also just the general things that exist outside a hotel. Tools, brooms, sweeps, or a gas tank, or something like that. And how it's all
transformer pads, generators.
Right. But the nasty stuff is what I'm worried about. Like something like you said, transformer, most transformers have some oil bases, you know, and how are they all protected? That would be my concern.
Okay.
You don't have to answer that.
I was going to say, would you like me to respond to that now, or?
Well, if you want to make a quick point that everyone's tired from keeping them briefly, that would be bad.
Yeah, I think at some point you get a certain elevation that you need to protect against, and whether it's a 100-year floodplain, 1-foot flooding, the wave velocity zone, that kind of thing. What we've done on the site, and it may be easier to see it on a full-size plan, but I think we can try to show it here. Like I said, elevation 12 is that wave velocity zone that comes in from the outer. It comes right up to about this edge. This whole area, with this small exception, inside the garage is elevation 12, 12.1, 12.0, 11.9. In a parking garage, you float it just a little bit, so any drainage that does come off the cars, snow melt, things like that, they do get brought in here, put it through an oil grease separator, and then you discharge that to the sanitary sewer after it's gone through the oil grease separator. So those items are all above that. This back here is some of the mechanical rooms. There's an electric room back here, a room for a fire pump. actually where the trash compactor will be, transformer and generator down here. These are all at or above elevation 12.0 as well. So we've kept those up. And actually the way this compactor works is the truck will come in, there's a winch on the front of the truck that will actually pull the compactor out. They'll dump the compactor, then another winch on the back edge of the wall that pulls the compactor back in. So all those are undercover above those flood elevations. We have a grease trap and a sanitary sewer manhole over here. Typically our typical practice of what we do in a floodplain with those types of structures is we have gasketed bolted on covers. So in the event there are some of those virus storms and you need the irrigation, you're not going to be mixing in the sanitary waste with the soil flow over the top. So any of the sanitary sewer, like I said, the grease traps, sewer manholes, those kind of things, gasketed and bolted on covers. Over on this side also, we've taken the transformer and the generator, we've lifted those up as far as the grading. The grading plan, if you look at it, as it comes around this side, it's all up around elevation 11.75 and 12.5 here on the walkway, and then those elevations wrap around this side. It does come back down low on this side to match the abutting property here. Along this side, what we have is some landscape strips and bituminous sidewalks. We don't have any real, there's no support features for the hotel, no trash facilities over there, no landscaping, rakes and things like that. There are some trees and shrubs.
Snow removal?
Snow removal, what we're planning on doing is removing from the site completely. A lot of these frontage areas and this general neighborhood area, there's not a lot of room for snow storage, so we'll have to remove from the site. I believe the applicant also has a facility over at Cruiseport where they have a similar contract service.
Okay. I would request that somewhere in the process, if things move forward, some sort of notification at the end of that lot that there'd be no dumping over there. Because it would be very...
Oh, for the snow?
It'll happen.
Yeah, we need to be aware of that, on the plans, so that's on record, and on file with the commission, the rest of the boards.
Okay. Well, those were my big concerns. I don't know if anyone else has anything else to add.
I think what the third-party review will be doing between now and the next time we meet, we'll be reviewing this to see if it meets mass stormwater regulation standards and also the performance standards for the resource areas that the commission approved in the annual.
Well, the next meeting will be November 7th, or correct?
We could continue to November 7th, but that may not be enough time, and it may have to be further continued, so I don't want to...
I know there's a lot of issues that they're still looking at.
Yeah.
The rest of the project.
So, do you want it continued to November 7th, or do you think that's not enough time, and we're not meeting Thanksgiving Eve, so it would be the first meeting in December, isn't November 7th?
For the record, Lisa's addressing BETA Beta, who is the third party reviewer on the project.
Yes, I just don't see it happening in 2 weeks, and then we need the report a week before the meeting, so I think we're going to continue to the first meeting in December.
And then I know there's a sidewalk component as well. Any thoughts on that? Or I think we just found out we're probably pushing into December for a sidewalk with city council, so it'd be cool like that.
Well, we definitely need a sidewalk. I mean, I want one. But I think I was just going to say, right, just so we...
It's too early to do it now.
I would agree.
So you may be able to see the snow
Wait till we get
first hand.
Right.
Existing conditions is no.
There we go.
Okay, so with that, what's the date on the first meeting in December? 5th? 5th.
December 5th.
Okay, so with that, nobody has anything else to add tonight. Can I get a motion to continue the project at 47 Commercial Street to December 5th, 2012? And Joe moved it, Charles seconded it. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstentions. Thank you very much. See you in a bit. Thank you, everybody. Lisa, we're on to permits, letter permits and modifications, 58 Rocky Neck Ave.
That I met with them on site, they need to come before you guys. It was not enough material change that I've issued.
Excellent. Request for certificates of compliance with Louisiana Mass. We have 28-2179 Causeway Street, 28-1778 69 Revere Street, 28-19593 Wolf Hill Road, 28-2004 11 Rebecca Lane, 28-2186 66 Thurston Point. Can I get a motion to approve those certificates of compliance? Seconded by Charles. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstentions. Motion to adjourn.